the smell obviously is because oak and concrete breathes. So basically the wine is slowly evaporating, simple as that. So we use these, we've got wine in these as well. These, you don't lose any wine from steel. So we use these just to top up. So one of the winemaker's regular jobs is just to top up the barrels and the egg.
They call it the angel shape, don't they?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. So we do natural ferments. In other words, we don't inoculate any foreign yeasts. The only time we do that is for the second fermentation and sparkling, because obviously at that stage you have to, no choice. But everything else goes through natural fermentation. So we've got so much yeast on the skins and in the air, in the islands inside, that because spraying chemicals will destroy those yeasts. So that's why we buy dynamic, because we want to use those natural yeast. So once the wine is juicy pressed and everything and settled, then we put it into these heated tanks, which basically pumps water around the jackets in the mechanization behind, just to heat the tank. The water goes through at 60 degrees, and then you set the temperature. So normally we do it about 20 degrees C. You can read the temperature here. And you need that sort of temperature to start the ferments. If it's too cold, the wine won't start fermenting. But once it's started, we can then shift it from this tank into wherever it's going to go, wherever its home is going to be for the next year or so, which will be either egg, maybe stainless steel, or oak. So natural ferments, which is nice. And then everything is fermented on its gross lees. Okay, so we leave the lees in the wine. Alright, so we don't fine or filter any of our wines, even the sparkling. Yeah, the lees just stays there. So when you look at our, say like our Chardonnay is the best example, when you taste it later, you'll see it's cloud is the wrong word, opaque, whatever you want, because it's not filtered. Yeah. So you've got little bits floating around in it. Our view is it gives you far better taste. If we enter that wine in a competition, we fail straight away in the UK because of lack of clarity. But that's the difference between, So it goes through natural malolactic fermentation as well. We don't force it, we don't rush it. Our sparkling wine takes from the date we press to the date we put it in bottle to start the second fermentation in bottle. About 16 months, most people in the UK 4 or 5 months. So we do an initial fermentation on the gross lees for a long period of time to get that flavour into the wine. And then when we inoculate with the second yeast for fermenting in the bottle, we use a very neutral organic yeast. Most producers worldwide, where they make champagne and sparkling wine, do it the opposite way around. Short first fermentation, 4 or 5 months, no flavour in the wine, and then you inoculate with the yeast, which gives you that flavour. The French like that because it gives them control. It means they can produce year after vintage, sparkling wine for the general public, which tastes exactly the same. So they're controlling it through that yeast. We do the opposite, and our wine, one vintage could taste a lot different to the other, because you've got wild yeasts. But for us, that's part of the joy of doing it. It's part of the interest, looking forward to the next vintage, wonder what it's going to taste like. But it's a view. I can see why the Champenois do it the opposite way. But so what else? This is our press, a super press, really nice little press. This will take nearly 2.5 tons of fruit. We've got a MVHR system, mechanical ventilation and heat recovery system, so it doesn't heat or cool the building at all. What it does, it extracts air from inside and replaces it with fresh air from outside, and it brings it back in at the same temperature. So if it's 15 degrees in here, and it's, say, for argument's sake, 30 degrees outside, it won't come back in at 30, it'll come back in at 15. So you're not changing the temperature in here. So it's within about 1 degree. And the reason we do that is because we're using eggs and oak, which breathes. So when everything's fermenting, say late October, early November, CO2 levels in this building get very, very high, dangerously high. So we have to do that. In the old days down in the south of France or whatever, all they do is open all the doors and all the windows. But then you can't regulate the temperature. It's proved really good in COVID as well. So if we've got Antonio, our winemaker, and Pip, who helps in working together, especially before they're vaccinated, they don't have to wear masks because they just turn up. It's on very low at the moment, so it's still on. So you can see how fresh the air is. But they just turn the MVHR system up, and it's, when you think of it, it's extracting all that air very quickly and bringing in fresh air. So in a COVID type environment, enclosed environment, it's a really good system.
It's virtually like outside, isn't it?
Sort of,
yeah,
yes.
Right.
If you really turn it up.
Yeah.
If you turn it up. If you've got people working here, you've got to do that. So that it's good from that point of view. You see the floor is sloped. So it's built to brewery and dairy standards for ease of washing down. So you can see how clean it is in here. Because we don't use chemicals at all, you know, we have to be really meticulous about how clean we keep the place. So, yeah. So we've got a fan over there and a window up here and another window behind the stainless steel. The purpose of that is if we want to heat or cool quickly, then we can suck air in. So in January, for example, if we want to get rid of some of the tartrate crystals in the sparkling wine, or not in the what's going to be sparkling wine, we can actually put the fan on at night. So it could be sort of -5 outside, and it's sucking that really cold air in. And you come in the morning, we've got the temperature in here down to 3 or 4 degrees. So it's just a simple way of doing it, you know. The big tanks are used for stainless steel is mainly used for bottling, storage, and setting as well. So you saw there's a tank outside. So in October, once we press, we plug it into a tank outside, and the sediment will settle much quicker and more efficiently in a cold environment. It's too warm in here, 15 degrees. Even October, November is still 15 degrees in here, you know.
See, you've named.
Yeah, well, we obviously got to keep meticulous records, and you know, we could have just said concrete cooled 1%. It's just a more fun. Yeah. They actually look like it's 3, but I like the second one. I know it's just something that lays over. So then go on, we have these specially designed wood by normal in Burgundy. So these are unique. There's no set like this anywhere else in the world. So they're built to the size of the fountain. They hold about 800 litres, or about 600 kgs of 700 kgs of fruit, whole bunch. We have the very extra large lids made. So basically what you do is seal it up, stick the whole bunches in there, fill it up full. And then there's you can't see it here, we have a little gas rod, so we introduce CO2, we gas it in an enclosed environment, and that works on the enzymes, it creates an enzymatic breakdown of the fruit, so it turns sugars into alcohol in a different way, a different style, it gives it quite a sort of smoky sort of flavour. So it breaks down the fruit, and it will start fermenting, but it won't ferment a lot. So when we open it up, we just put a big bit in under here, get in with our wellies and clean everything clean, obviously. Put it into the bin, and then the forklift will pick the bin up, tip it into the press, and we'll press it. So there will be a lot of juice in here as well, which will just come into the bin. So it's called carbonic maceration. So it's a technique they use a lot in Beaujolais, for example, as you know, but they use it in southeast France a lot, Languedoc, Roussillon. Places like that.
I don't see it being used as much with white grape varieties then.
No, but no, you don't. But because you're getting all the skin contact. But that's what we do for our orange.
Yeah.
So the Albarino will spend 40 days, 50 days, it depends. Sometimes it's 30 days. I mean, the winemakers tasting it all the time, so we want to make sure the taste is right. So, you know, nothing's regimented, it just things work at different times. I mean, 2018, we had still rosé in 2 of the eggs. One went through malolactic fermentation very quickly, the other one took months and months and months. But it was pressed in the same press, it was from the same vineyard. You tell me why. You know, there's no explanation or anything. But that's part of the fun. You know, it's, if everything was, you know, guaranteed and regimented, it wouldn't be a challenge, would they?
No, exactly.
Yeah. We're big fans of these Stockinger barrels. They're from Austria. They're a bit more expensive. We've got a few French ones as well, not many. The French oak tends to be stronger, but these are very light toasty, so the oak is grown, the trees are grown at altitude, so that's why they're a bit more pricey. For the sort of low alcohol, delicate wines we're producing, you know, we just think it suits our wines better. So if we make a Pinot, for example, we'll put the Pinot into, you know, one of the French ones as well. So we have a bit of a mixture. So we've got a review, for example. Yeah, we've got a Cowshed today. This is Austrian as well, Cowshed, but it's a much stronger oak. So we got about 20 in there. So that'll be blended then with what's in the egg.
Small ones as well.
Yeah, they're 225 litre. I think they're 228 litre. Yeah. We like them because we can experiment. So we've experimented with different ways of making Pinot, for example. You've only got 225 litres, so if it goes wrong, it's 225 litres, not 500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it's used.
Yeah, but that's why we've got 5, because we can use them just for some. This has got the carbonic acid in it, and the end has got the pressure stamp. But we may do it differently next year, because, you know, the nice thing about these things you can experiment with, which is good. And then, of course, they're all on rollers, these are on rollers as well. So, as I said, you know, we stir all the leaves every week. So, when we do a barrel, we basically knock this in with a hammer and you just turn it. You can see it. Well, I won't use that. You can see it will just roll. So, you just roll it around and it just mixes it up basically. With the eggs, you don't need to do that. Because when those eggs are, when the wine in the eggs is fermented, you look at the shape, it's like a rugby ball. So, because it's fermented, all the wine is doing that basically from the top way around, so it's stirring itself. But we will then, once it's finished fermenting and gone through mallow, we will take the lid off and give it a good old stir, the lid back on, say it once before that, and like that. Just to get part of the flavour of the leaves. The leaf, you don't understand what the leaves is, it's just the dead, all the dead leaf cells from here. And then maybe bits of skin and bits of pip and, you know, sort of. Yeah, it works, you know, sort of. So we've built it high, say the planet, which is good. So we had to sink it in the ground, obviously, otherwise it would be very high up. So you can see the planet about halfway up that wall. But we've done it so that we can put a mezzanine floor in here if we ever wanted to. And we can put a mezzanine floor in the other building, so we could increase the capacity of the building by about 60% through putting a steel metal floor on. So if we wanted to go plant at the farm and start making $1 million a year, that's what we have to do. We have to develop that into a fermentation room as well. We have to put the mezzanine floor on, and then we'd probably take the wine up to build a barn at the temperature control barn at the farm and store the wine there if it's these aging. That's the option. But we just thought it was a good idea to get the height to 7.5 meters tall.
Absolutely, it's good forward thinking.